सो आज हमारे साथ है एकांश। एकांश मेरे अच्छे दोस्त हैं और यहाँ पीएचडी स्टूडेंट है। एकांश, कैसी चल रही है यूएस में पीएचडी जर्नी?
So PhD journey is good. I'm pretty enjoying the weather here in US, and also my lab is cool. People are cool here. People are chill here. They usually concentrate on their work, so that's good. PhD is going good. Yeah.
What about the weather and all right now?
So weather is pretty good. It's changing from winter to spring, and yeah. But as you know, the weather in Indiana is what people say. It's unpredictable. It's sometimes very cold. It's sometimes hot. You never know when it rains, when it snows. So it's pretty good now. It's changing.
It's in the transient stage. That happens last year also when we are moving from winter to spring. It's like sometime that 1 month is like more problematic. So it goes from rain, thunderstorm, winter storm, I don't know what all. You will see the entire, what you won't see in India, you will see over here. The transition is not smooth, I believe.
Transition is not smooth, and also what I see last year in summers, that as there will be 2-3 days of very hot stretches, and then there will be rain. So there's very unpredictability in the weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something.
What about your PhD research? How it's going and how it's progressing right now in US?
So my PhD is basically concentrated on the probabilistic analysis of reinforced validating structures. I'm also considering the static part and the seismic part. So, I've been covering my almost the major part of my PhD has been covered in India. And now I'm basically focusing on the numerical part. So it's going good. It's going pretty well because I'm learning new things. And there are certain things which are not known to the world regarding the soil. We all know nature is very random. Nothing is ideal. We always assume ideal cases. So I'm working on that, so that how can we incorporate that randomness into my work? So that
yes, nature is very random. Where you come from? You come from Uttarakhand. I suppose you are since you are from IIT, so you come from Uttarakhand.
Yes. So my native town is Roorkee. So it was in Uttar Pradesh before 2000, but now it's in Uttarakhand. And it's been pretty, I think 23 years in Uttarakhand. So I'm from Uttarakhand.
Yeah. So I'm also basically from Uttarakhand. My forefathers, still my grandmother lives in Ranikhet. That is more towards hilly area.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But these days, your research is linking soil behavior. So I had this question recently. You have seen in the news the Joshimath. So what's going on in Joshimath? Because it's like some cracks are happening in a village. So what is this about?
So my research is more inclined towards landslides, and the institute in which I am working is Central Building Research Institute. It also focuses on landslides, and we have a department dedicated to that. So when this Joshimath issue occurred, I was very curious to know that why this is happening and what is happening. So to start with, I think to understand this issue, we should know some history about Uttarakhand first.
Okay.
So you're from a mountainous region, right? So in mountainous regions, there is always land subsidence, because you don't know where water flows, and water always changes its courses and its paths. So there is always land subsidence and erosions and landslides. It has always been there. In Joshimath also, it has been occurring, I think, since 150 years. But before 150 years, the population was not too much, so it was not in highlight. But
and tourism was also not that much.
Yes. So coming to that point, so Uttarakhand, is known as people exporting state because the mountains are new. The Himalayan range is new, and mostly in the upper Himalayas, where we have Himadri range in the Uttarakhand, it's very hard to work. The resources are less. Transportation is a problem. So usually people go from Uttarakhand to various places in the country to work. So what government did, they wanted to increase tourism in Uttarakhand because that is the only thing which can, not only thing, but it's a major thing which can revive the economy of the state. So when they started reviving the economy, the population boomed. So Joshimath, as we were talking, it's precariously located, and it's It is a small town, so only 20,000 people live there. So I was curious to know why these cracks were happening. So these cracks, or I should not say cracks, this land subsidence has been
Okay.
happening since 150 years. But now, because people are living there and it has been a problem for people from, I think, from past 50, 60 years,
And
people
I
have
think
been suffering.
media is also a reason right now. Like media,
Yes.
internet is more active, so that's why we know all about these news.
Yes, that's true. Media is
Yeah.
also active, and
Hmm.
yes, the problem is increasing also because we
Hmm.
know when the 20th century started, due to
Hmm.
climate change, the problem is continuously increasing.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's now in highlight. That's a
Yes,
problem.
that's
Hmm.
true. That's true. And I think Joshimath. So Himalayan range are divided into three parts. One is like the major Himalayan range, and then there is a second Himalayan range, and there is a third Himalayan range. Generally, Uttarakhand comes between second and third Himalayan range, and most of this zone comes under seismic zone 5. So I think there are different ways of describing seismic zone. It's a very highly active seismic zone, and when you have seismic zones, earthquakes, and that added with glaciers, so it's like more devastating. So what do you have, what means like how seismic zones and Richter scale earthquake are related? Means like seismic zone, more higher seismic zone means like higher probability of having earthquakes and all.
Yes.
Hmm.
So regarding the seismic zones,
Hmm.
what I know is that seismicity is it occurs when the tectonic plates they strike or they just rub
Hmm.
against each other.
Yes.
So majority of the earthquakes which have happened in the past and which
Hmm.
happen now, they
Hmm.
occur at the position where there is a fault. So
Okay.
these seismic zones are these are bifurcated based on those faults. So everywhere there is a fault, that seismic zone is of high seismicity. Like
Hmm.
there's a fault between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. It's near the Himalayan range because there
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
the Himalayas were formed. So that
Hmm.
region is of high seismicity. And other
Hmm.
regions like the plateau and the south side of India, it's of low seismicity. And there are many other different divisions of those seismic zones. So
Yes.
yeah, that's
And apart from that, I believe this uh, Himalayas, which are called as like highest mountain range and the longest mountain range, is like the pretty new. It
yeah.
means like there were studies related to how Indian subcontinent was previously a part of African continent, and it moved and hit the Eurasian plate, and due to this there was a creation of Himalayas. Still, Himalayas heights are still increasing by 1 or 2 centimeters every like 5 or 6 years. So it's still, that is a very active region. So since nobody lives on those glaciers, we don't know, means like they are more, landslide and glaciers, melting, and these things are happening on. What about, means like one point you highlighted, how infrastructure building, to facilitate tourism is causing problems in Joshimath. Can you highlight this a bit more?
Yes. So Joshimath is actually it is situated at a place where it is on the roads, like crossroads, where we have Badrinath on one side, Kedarnath on one side, Hemkund Sahib on one side. We have many pilgrimages which are connected via Joshimath.
Hmm.
So people are being settled there, and tourists are like being going there in the Joshimath from a long time.
Hmm.
So there was one NC Mishra report. I think it was in
Yeah,
1976.
yeah, something. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so when people started facing these problems some 50 years ago, the government started this panel to
Hmm.
do some research on that, and they
Hmm.
found out that construction activities and tourism activities, because of tourism, this
Hmm.
construction is being done there. So yeah, it is seriously doing some harm to the geography of Joshimath because
Hmm.
people are living there. So people are sucking water from the ground. There are many
Oh,
reasons. Like land subsidence can be because of many reasons, due to
yes,
the
yes.
exploitation of the groundwater,
Hmm.
due to climate change, due to
Hmm.
construction activities. So everything, and tourism is also included in that. Everything is
Hmm.
just leading to what Joshimath is right now.
Hmm.
So that's
Yes.
the problem.
Yeah. So there may be multiple reasons for that. Some could be there is climate change also involved due to more rains involved. There are some natural factors. even climate change is human-made factor, and what we are doing is also a human-made factor. So I don't know whether to classify this as a man-made tragedy or a natural tragedy. So it's a debatable question. And what
Yes.
about the report you were mentioning about NC Mishra? There was new report and some peer review papers about like Joshimath is sinking, means like is sitting on a very kind of debris, not on a very hard rock, I believe. Means like, so that's why it's like, and when you do construction, generally when you know in mountain region, when they construct road, they have to remove a lot of stones from their path. What all can be done? What do you think? What could be done to avoid some of these challenges?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're right. There was a peer review paper, I think, in 2010. It
Yes,
was
something like
by some people from Disaster Management Authority of Uttarakhand. And
yeah,
yes, they stated that Joshimath is just on the verge of collapsing. Disaster is about to happen there. And so they stated in their paper that yes, for any city to build upon, your foundation must be stable. It should be on a hard rock. So, but
yes.
Joshimath is not on a hard rock. It is on pieces of debris or of coarse, loose soil. So that's why there is a problem with Joshimath, that it is sinking. And regarding the factors, I think there are many factors behind it, and you cannot list some of the. You cannot say that this is the reason for this. There are many factors behind this which is causing this. So, yeah.
And means like those who don't know about Joshimath, there is a relevance of Joshimath in Hinduism. So when there is like Badrinath temple, and when there is a winter, the seat of, I don't know, means like Badrinath comes to Joshimath, and it has a lot of relevance as compared to Hinduism. So this small town has, I believe, a much more religious prominence. If it would be some other places at some other location, government would not have been listened to it, since it's a very attractive tourist place, and it's like very historical. There's like one of the mud, and means like one of the mud, which was like Adi Shankaracharya's one of the mud. So that's true. What about, but if you see, earthquakes are everywhere. Means like earthquakes are everywhere, but different part of the world handles it differently. So what do you think? Means like in a construction way, we use a lot of cement and all these things. Do you think there should be much more sustainable way of building homes and road and all?
Yes, there should be some sustainable way. So what I learned from my experiences when I read some papers on Joshimath and seismic activities in that region, so, and other regions also, like some other countries, what I learned is that we should learn to live with nature. We cannot oppose the nature. We have to learn to live with nature. And to live with nature, you have to adapt with nature. So, yes, regarding the houses, what can be done is, like you see Japan, it's a highly seismic zone, very high seismic zone. And so what people do there, they build their houses on stilts. That the construction is very light.
Oh, so you mean wood constructing?
Yes. So apart from doing some very heavy cement concrete construction, when you know that this place is in an area of high seismicity, you can just learn from countries who have already done it. And you should follow the standards and the codes or the seismic standards which have been designed. But that is not followed. That's really very sad that in most of the cases that is not followed very holistically. So so you have to learn from countries. So you should build lighter houses so that you can recover soon. And whenever there is an earthquake, the loss is not much. So that's something which can.
So there is this in structures when we do courses. Generally, adding mass to a structure is good for the strength, but that is very, that has adverse effect on seismic activity. You keep on adding weight, you will be having much more strength related to dead load and live loads. But as you add weight, it will be very dangerous for seismicity. Yeah, these things are also there.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Regarding the seismicity, I want to add one thing that, as you said, it's true that it adds to the dead load and it adds to the self weight of the structure. It adds to the balance of the structure. But when an earthquake comes, so it has been seen that many people die when buildings fall on them or when some debris falls on them. So that's a real problem. So the buildings might be stable. but people die because debris falls on them. So that can be avoided by building lighter like buildings and doing lighter construction.
And even I believe after there is a devastation like big cement building, just fragmented and like just devastated. And the time you take it to like properly clean that place, remove it's also very time taking.
True, very true.
Nobody will die if they, the entire wood structure will fall off them, not majorly. And apart from that, removing those structures is very easier with cranes and all these things. However, for cement like building, and it's not sustainable, I think.
Yes, it's not sustainable. And I remember one thing from this, that when when on January 26, 2001, Bhuj earthquake in Gujarat. So I was reading some time back about that, and I got to know that after the earthquake, it took 6 months for the city to come in a like in the previous, not exactly the previous phase, but to be back on track. It took 6 months because the debris was everywhere. So that's also something to be taken
apart
care
from
of.
that. Once the cement building falls off, you can't use any of the component again. However, for a wooden building, you can use those planks again to build again, new homes, or you can use them for other purposes. A lot of them use them for, other activities and all. So what
Definitely.
about, there is one point which you highlighted previously about this aquifer, means like underground water, it got punctured. How it affects like the sinking of Joshimath?
Yes. So actually, I mentioned that Joshimath is one of those towns which is sinking because of many factors. There might be construction activities, there is climate change, but one of the major factors is due to the exploitation of the groundwater. One is this, and in that report, I think in 2010, in that paper, they mentioned there was some tunnel boring machine. There was some tunnel project going on, and that tunnel boring machine accidentally punctured an aquifer. So aquifer is something, it's in very layman terms, it's a water tank below ground.
But
It's
very
a
huge quantity.
Tank, very huge water tank below ground. So usually people, they just dig some pipes in the aquifer and then they draw water from them in emergency cases, or if you want water somewhere. So that tunnel boring machine punctured that aquifer, and I think, if I'm not wrong, 70 million liters of water per day, it was wasted. And whenever this kind of thing happens, so due to the when this aquifer gets emptied, or when the water gets just wasted from these aquifers, the land above the aquifer, it gets settled, which is called land subsidence. That's one of the major reasons why Joshimath is sinking, because it's again some very careless construction activities or indiscriminate construction activities. You can consider this also in that. So that happened, I think, in 2009, and they stated in their paper and in their report, but still no one listened. So that's really very sad.
Yeah, that's true. Apart from that, I think a lot of rains, and when you have rains, floods, and they carry a lot of boulders, stones with them, and they hit here and there, and they are like a lot of force which is coming from a very height and just hitting somewhere. So it is also caused. So there could be multiple reasons, but I believe if you want to have percentage wise, I will credit 80% man-made, problems, and 20% could be natural, because you can't stop nature. Yeah,
definitely, nature, you cannot stop it. And as you know, these rains, torrential rains, floods, these have been happening, I don't know since when.
Yeah,
We are the ones who came in the path of nature. So we have to understand to live with nature. Like we know that, oh, this river can go from here, or it might go from here. Don't just try to go there, right?
Yeah.
Just get settled somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Otherwise, it will be disastrous.
And even government start allotting land on those, means like it looks like flat plain for good for construction, but there was actually a river there like 100 years ago. So there is a concept. If the river has visited there some years back, some 100 years back, there is a higher probability that it will revisit back there again. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I agree.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Apart from that, means like, since a lot of these things are centered around earthquakes, so recently we have heard news about this Turkey-Syria earthquake also. That was pretty devastating. And the thing which you have mentioned, like we use cement for construction. A lot of people just died because of multi-story buildings falling on them. So what's your point of view on Turkey-Syria earthquake, why it happens and all?
So I should say Turkey is it's one of those countries which is just being squeezed by the tectonic plates. So I would like to explain a bit about it because it's really very interesting.
Yeah.
So this Turkey plate, it's called Anatolia plate, and it's the smallest plate in the world, smallest tectonic plate in the world. And the worst part for this tectonic plate is that it is being squeezed from all the sides by the Arabian plate, the African plate, and the Eurasian plate. Or I'm not sure. There's one more plate.
Yeah.
So it's being squeezed from all the directions. So what happens that it's a zone of high seismicity. And if you notice that Turkey and Syria and these areas have experienced almost 7 to 8 earthquakes since 1950. And there was no major earthquake since 1999.
Yes,
so
yes.
This earthquake was due. It was due. People knew it would come. And why this happened? Because when these tectonic plates, they rub against each other, they try to force or they try to push each other. So this Anatolia plate is being pushed westward by some plate, upward by some plate, and then downward by some plate.
Yeah.
And when this friction becomes so much that these plates cannot go anywhere, they just slip. So what happened is that plate slipped due to this friction, and the energy came to the ground in the form of.
It's like a spring energy coming out in the form of earthquake. Yeah.
Yes, I think that picture became very famous. That photo where they just they had one road. That road was slipped like this in Turkey. In this earthquake, there was one photo that this slip was clearly visible on the ground. So we cannot just know what is happening beneath the ground. It's very hard to understand that what is happening in that earthquake, how it happens. But it was visible. So it just slipped like that. Slip, strike, earthquake kind of thing.
Yeah. And apart from that, yes, the earthquake was very severe. Like I believe 7.8, then 7.5. And I have seen like whenever there is an earthquake, there will be multiple earthquakes following that. Have you seen this this pattern? Yeah.
Yes, it's true. And I think the earthquake was very severe because, earthquake depends on epicenter and focus. So focus is something which is where the exact seismic activity occurs, and the point exactly above the focus on the ground is called the epicenter.
Where the maximum epicenter is the point where there is a maximum strength of the...
Where the seismic activity is at its maximum and where there is maximum devastation. So in the case of Turkey, what happened is that this focus was not very deep. So I think in the for the first earthquake, which happened in the morning, it was of 7.8. 7.8, right? So the focus was almost 11 miles below the ground, and 11 miles is not very deep.
Yeah,
consider regarding that, it's very shallow. So it was very near to the ground. So due to this shallowness or due to this very less distance from the ground, this earthquake was very severe. Again, for the second earthquake, which happened in the afternoon in Ekinozu, that place is Ekinozu, the focus was 6 miles below the ground. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That was the intensity of this earthquake, and that was the severity of this earthquake. That was the reason it was so severe.
And that's what you told exactly. I think severity also depends upon how deeper the earthquake is. As means like if the focal point is so deeper, so there'll be like enough space for it to damp out. Means like if it is much more deeper, it will take time and some of the energy will be dissipated. But if it is very near, then it will be very challenging. And the plates you were mentioning about, I was reading like this Anatolia plate was like under constant pressure and it burst out. And the thing which you were mentioning previously, the cement construction, do you know how many deaths happened? 50,000 deaths has happened in Turkey. Estimated right now, around 43,000 something in Turkey and some 7,000 in something like Syria. Yes. So these are the numbers, which is like very...
That's very sad. That's very sad. That's really very sad. And I hope scientists or researchers someday find some method to predict the earthquake or to just know that earthquake is coming. It's really needed.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
even there was some corruption charges on some Turkey companies who were not constructing the buildings according to like a strict standards. I think
Yes,
that was the
yes.
case. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I heard in news
Yeah.
about this, that there
Hmm.
was one company contractor which was held
Hmm.
because he was not following the norms. So
Yeah.
that's why he was being handled. And that photo also became very famous, where everywhere there is debris and only one building is there, which is, I think, of some government office of civil engineering kind
Yes.
of.
Yes. Yes.
And people were saying that the reason behind this is that because that building has been built following the construction standards, following the codes. And it's
Hmm.
and I should say this, that this code, following these codes, is really needed, because in my research, what I am doing is, when I follow these codes to
Hmm.
build a slope, or when I try
Hmm.
to stabilize some slope, then
Hmm.
also there are times when those slopes fail, even after following those codes. So what I'm
Hmm.
trying to do is making them more stable by going
Hmm.
somewhat realistic.
Hmm.
And can you imagine, if people don't follow these codes, what can
Hmm.
happen? That's seriously disastrous. So I think
Yeah.
that's really one of the reasons for Joshimath,
Hmm.
for Turkey, anywhere.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
illegal practices, or I should not say illegal, but not following the code holistically
Yeah.
100% is something very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And apart from that, the tectonic activity is like something. It's like intrigues me. Means like how it's like iceberg on a water moving. So tectonic plates also, I believe the mechanics or physics of tectonic plates is like there is some molten, semi-molten core, and they are like plates over it which are continuously moving. That is like very, very. What's your point of view on that?
So I'll not go into very technical point. In very
Yeah.
simple terms,
Mm.
we all know Earth is divided into three parts: the core, the
Core,
mantle, the crust.
crust. Yeah.
So core is very hot, and in mantle there is volcanic lava which is constantly moving. And due to
Yeah.
the movement of this lava, there are some currents. You can say there are
Yeah.
some convective currents,
Mm.
which due to this reason, the crust above the mantle, it
Mm.
moves. It is continuously moving. So
Yes.
due to
Yes.
this
Yes.
movement of the
Mm.
crust, and
Mm.
you know that we have different continents. So these continents have been divided into different plates,
Mm.
going by their name. So
Yeah.
these continents or these plates are constantly moving due to
Mm.
this convective currents. So
Mm.
that's yeah.
So in my project, when I was working on, so I work building habitats on moon. There is a group which works with moon quakes. So they
Oh.
are moon quakes are also there in on moon. When you are building, definitely you need to take care of that. Do you
Mhm.
know? But moon doesn't have a molten core; it's a solid core. So I used to refer it to why earthquake can happen. Generally, tectonic activity causes earthquake
Mhm.
on Earth. On Moon is majorly due to because it doesn't have any atmosphere. So it acts like a object suspended by a gravitational force.
Mhm.
And when some meteoroid hits it, it vibrates like this. So this
Oh.
creates a lot of ripples in the, I believe, in the Earth, Moon. And those quakes, moon quakes, are high frequency. They stays for a long time because
Okay.
yeah, they stays for a very long time, maybe sometimes like hours and hours. So it's like moonquakes are pretty dangerous as compared to earthquakes. So I raised this question to like some NASA folks, asking
Mhm.
about when there is no core or mantle, how it can have, you
Mhm.
know, earthquakes.
Mhm.
So they were
Yeah.
looking at me like I am very premature.
Okay.
So apart from that, one fantastic fact I came to know, I watched some
Mhm.
short. So they were
Mhm.
saying like birds had different activities just before the earthquake. They were flocking to a particular area. I don't know, means like it's so strange. What's your point of view on that? Does animals have much more consciousness about these natural phenomena than us?
Yes. So yes, I came to know about this, and I
Hmm.
read after like, as you were curious to know about these
Hmm.
things, I was also curious, and I read some things on this.
Hmm.
So there is no scientific backing to this as of now, but yes,
Hmm.
there are examples.
Yeah.
So I would like to state two examples for that. I think, and what I believe is that yes, animals have some sense and they
Hmm.
sense earthquakes.
Hmm.
So in 2011, if I'm not wrong, there was an earthquake in Peru, And before that earthquake, there was an unusual activities of birds. It was found that birds were behaving in very unusual. And yes, very interesting. In I don't remember the year. I think in 1970s, 1979 in China. There's a town in China. I don't remember the name. So what happened that before the earthquake, many dogs, I think thousands of dogs, they started behaving in a very weird manner. So what happened? People noticed that these dogs are behaving in a very weird manner, and the authorities came to know about it. So they evacuated the whole place, and they evacuated 90,000 people from that place. And the earthquake came after that. So 90,000 lives were saved due to this unusual behavior of dogs. So what I think is, yes, it has happened in Italy also. And yes, the cows or sheep, I think some animals, they started behaving in very unusual manner before the earthquakes. But experiments are going on, and there are different countries collaborating on it. I think Russia and Germany, they have built some project, and they are studying animals very, very holistically, and they are trying to figure out if there is some connection between this animal behavior and earthquakes.
So earthquake engineering from civil engineering, which used to be like using seismometers to detect, then map it on Richter scale. Now it's going into more like animal,
yes.
more towards animal using animals as sensors. It's like civil engineers are becoming more like, I believe, poultry farmers.
Civil, that's true. Civil engineers
in
are becoming,
earthquake domain, it
civil
seems like nature is the best sensor.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I have studied something on this, which is called nature inspired optimization. Almost everything is inspired by nature. Aerospace, planes are inspired by nature. Optimization problems are inspired by nature. So we have to, again, everything is nature. We started with Joshimath, and we are discussing some things.
Yes,
there is nature. We have to live with it.
And apart from that, means like the Richter scale, which is used to measure the earthquake, people think like 7.8. They think like 7.8. Oh, it's a less number, so earthquake will be less intense. They don't know like Richter scale has a range.
Yes,
it's like not like 100 is not possible in that scale. What do you think about that? Yeah.
I think it's true, and that's why there were different scales of measuring like some scale measures the intensity, some scale measures, I think there is one Mercalli scale which measures something else. So I think, I have read many instances or many examples of earthquake where this earthquake was only of 6 magnitude and the devastation was more than an earthquake of 8 magnitude.
Yeah.
So this is something which has to be studied in detail. And I think there are many factors contributing to the devastation or contributing to the damage which earthquake can occur, can contribute.
Yeah. So Richter scale, when I was seeing, it's from 0 to 9. Anything above 6 is dangerous, but 9 is like if I give an example of 9, some people say Richter scale 9 is equivalent to having some trillions of TNT blasted together. So it's like a huge amount of energy. Means like a lot of people see, small vibration. But if you see in terms of energy, it's a very huge energy. Means like how much energy, like that shows how small we are in comparison to the magnificent nature of, magnificent behavior of the nature. Yeah.
That's true. I would like to add one example in this.
Yeah.
There was a tsunami in 2004, and I don't remember the exact magnitude. It was, I have heard somewhere, I've read somewhere, it was 9.2, I think.
Yeah, something.
It was like I don't have word. It was very disastrous.
Yeah.
And so, the energy which was released in that earthquake, it was equal to 2 times all the bombs or all the ammunition detonated in World War II, including 2 atomic bombs. 2 times of that ammunition. So can you imagine how much energy is released when an earthquake occurs? And that's why we were talking about the distance from the epicenter to focus. So imagine if that earthquake would have happened on land.
Yeah.
What it could have done.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And
Something.
tsunami are also very fascinating. Means like how an earthquake beneath the surface can leads it to like, so like earthquakes are dangerous, but with that it's coming a very strong wave of water. So yeah, what you were mentioning about 2004 or something
2004.
like
Yeah.
that, where there was like in Indian Ocean that happened, like
Yes.
Malaysia, Thailand, India, that to Chennai, Visakhapatnam, it was very devastating.
Yes.
Yes, it was about that. But I think we lack at that point of time sufficient, I would say, technology to even predict it and
Yes.
mitigation of it. Means like, what do you think about that? Yeah.
So you're right. You're, I think, 100% right on this. So when 2004 tsunami happened, it covered, I think, 5 to 6 countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Thailand, and some others, and it was devastating. So regarding the mitigation, what now countries are doing? I think the US has developed one system called DART. It's called. I'm forgetting the full form. It's reporting of tsunamis, basically.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they have done something, and what they do is they measure the height of water from the ground. They have some station at the bottom of the ground, and then they measure the height of water above that instrument. So if that height is, if they measure something unusual or something unusual in their average heights in some time period, then they get to know that some tsunami is happening, and then they just send the signal to some station above the ground. Then that station sends that signal to International Space Station, and then every citizen gets some messages or something regarding this, and a warning is issued. So after this 2004 tsunami, I think these countries, also India, and because we didn't have this reporting system back then, and this about Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, Pacific Ring of Fire. That
Pacific
is like
Ring of Fire. So I think it's the most seismically active region in the world.
Yes.
That's why these countries developed this DART technology. And after this tsunami came, all the countries came together, and then they shared the technology or something. And now I think we also have 6 or 7 tsunami detection instruments in the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal and in the Indian Ocean. And the best part is that these technologies work hand in hand, like they are collaborated all around the world.
That's
So
nice.
that's the best part.
At least something we are collaborating on, like instead of wars and all.
That's true.
Scientific community is a place where you will find more coordination instead of like political people. And once you mention like Pacific Ring of Fire, I was reading, means like those are the numbers like which contributes 90% of the entire world earthquakes.
True.
And 75% of the entire world's volcanic eruptions happens in that. That means like for them it was necessary, I think, maybe because it's happening for so long time, so they made this DART like technology, which is very essential, but we reacted. They were using it for like 30-40 years, but we reacted when it happened to us. A lot of things in Eastern worlds are like reactive. When something happens, okay, now work on it. And they worked after that very fast, like 2004, I think by 2006 or 7, they had good operational, these things. So, and much more collaboration is required, I believe.
Much more collaboration is required. And I think we humans have something called hindsight bias, which is called that we act when something is already happening, and we don't act previously. So coming to the previous point which we were discussing about the animals and the earthquake, so reacting to this, or just for a counter to this hindsight bias, what scientists thought that before a major earthquake happens, now we should start before that earthquake happens, and that's why they started doing some study on animals.
Yeah, means like that's exactly what you said. We humans. So one of the problem with us, like we think linearly. So what happens? So for example, in PhD also we see a lot of people are demotivated. Like 1 year I didn't do anything, 2 years I didn't do anything. So 1, 2, and then 4 I'll be able to do a little bit. But the thing about learning and entire nature works non-linearly. Something which is not happening today can happen tomorrow very fast. Yes. So that happens, like we are seeing very less changes, maybe in Joshimath and earthquakes, and here we are seeing, okay, not to worry about, small things happening, but it will happen like the graphs is so exponential, nature works exponentially. So it will be like much more challenging, and we need to, and our memory is also like weak. We forget, okay, a lot of people may have forgot that there was an earthquake in Bhuj, which is one of the biggest earthquake, and this tsunami. A lot of people forgets, and even politician forgets, and they are like delaying all these things because they loses the memory of that incident, which was very prominent at that point of time. Yeah.
That's true. To add to this, I think memory, as you were talking about memory. So, what should we do in this? I think we should never forget something. Like it's not only about the disasters, but anything, anything which has dented the integrity of any country or to humanity. We should never forget that. That's why the concept of museums came upon, that so that people don't forget what happened to us in the past.
Yeah.
So that should be the case. Like if something bad happens, you should always take that in your memory. You should always remember that so that it doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah.
So you were right on this. I totally agree. That's true.
And in addition to that, if you see in COVID also, so what happened before COVID, like Taiwan, China, they were similar incident of such kind of viruses which are infectious. And do you know, since COVID like scenario was not happening for 20 years, there were budget cuts for this like study on virus. When COVID came, now a lot of people are putting entire budget over there. So it's like so weak memory and all. Even with the mask, you will see, once we see, okay, in TV, okay, 1,000 cases are coming. Okay, let it come to nearby places, then we will use mask. Yeah.
Again, hindsight bias.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything is same. Everything comes to the same point. So I was visiting this 9/11 museum, I think last month. I read this quote. It was in bold and very big on a very big wall there, that we won't let forget world what happened with us. And that's true. We should not forget this. That's true for everything. We should not forget the Bhuj earthquake. We should start working on that. We should not forget the Turkey earthquake. We should start working on that. But do you really think that people will take this or not? Let's forget people. The politicians or the concerning authorities will take this that seriously? That's a debatable question.
And one of the, this peculiar thing which I have seen, and I have seen some video. A lot of people go to British museums, and when they enter into British museum, it looks like Indian Chor Bazaar. The entire Indian history is lying over there. So necessarily what they are teaching people is like, we ruled on this magnificent, very big country, India, indirectly, instead of giving us the stuff. Even US has a policy, like if they have something stolen from any country, they give it. Recently, 5-year-old Hanuman Murti was given by Anthony Blinken to India. US has this policy, but British doesn't have. So they keep storing. So Kohinoor and all these magnificent. If you see videos, you will see like the entire museum is like Indian, artistic thing, which were like 1,000, 2,000-year-olds. So it's like keeping that memory in their people to give them confidence. Like right now, they are doing shitty thing. They are very bad in their economy and everything is going bad. Just means like it will keep on going bad because of their policies and all. And they are living very comfortable life instead of, struggling like Indians and Chinese. We struggle for like, expertise. However, so it's just showing why don't they give our stuff back to us? That is also like memory thing.
That's true. That's true. And we Indians, I think, are very... We should fast forward our pace on this because we forget our history very easily. We don't have some good museums to showcase to people what happened to us. At least what we should showcase what exactly happened to us. There might be something else in books. There might be something else in British history. We should try to show people the truth. Yeah, that's something needed regarding what we were saying, the memory. So
And memory factor, I was reading one study, which is more of a neuroscientific or neurobiological study in Japan. Do you know, there are some theories behind that also. If you see in the entire chain, animal chain, we are very much advanced as compared to any existing living creature in terms of our cognition ability. That's how we created the entire civilization. Just near to us is like, which is much more near to us, are chimpanzees. They are also very smart. So there was some study going in Japan. They see one thing, that the memory and cognition power are linked in some or other ways.
Okay.
So they say chimpanzees has very huge, very good memory. They remember things from even numbers. There is a screen, and in screen some numbers appear, and that monkey remembers that this number was at this location in a very big screen from a week back. This much strong memory.
Interesting.
So a lot of scientists say that in our brain there is a trade-off between memory and cognitive ability. Means like the thinking part and the innovation part and memory part. So some says ki human compromised with memory in order to gain more cognition ability. So that's why our short-term memory and our long-term memory is so weak. But as compared to animals, animals navigate without GPS. Elephant goes from one corner to another corner without any GPS. They know because they have long-lasting memory and then retains in the genes, and they have much more. I think there's a trade-off. There were some studies going on. I don't know what are the papers behind that, but they were studying the trade-off between our computational power, how we think, versus our memory. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I also think that apart from memory, these animals, like you can say birds or chimpanzees or the small animals like ant colonies, these animals are very good in optimization.
Yeah.
They optimize very fast. Like that's something to be studied and very seriously. So there are many things which we have to learn from nature.
Yes, learn from even if you see artificial intelligence and deep learning, what it's necessarily doing, it's not as reasoning, as cognitive capable as compared to human, but they have very huge memory. So what artificial algorithm necessarily does, since it has this chips, necessarily what it's doing, it's like learning from training examples, but we forget the training examples. We don't have necessarily as it goes back in time, we forget that. For example, if we have 10 different incidences and they are at 10 different time histories, we will forget 8 of them and we will think according to just recent examples. However, machine learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm just crunches that, knowledge in the form of memory to have much more prediction.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming back to this nature and fantastic memory of, I was going through a Joe Rogan podcast. There was a person who was saying that what was the reason of this exceptional memory human have? So he was saying that monkey ate mushrooms and they became animals. So there is a theory behind that. He was saying some of the monkeys who used to live on trees, so they find that trees fruits are getting over, so they started coming down, and they have to be cognitively smart in order to tackle challenges like lion and tigers who are also hunting with you in grasslands. So that is very challenging for a human which has not that much capability. So they started building tools, and which means like they started developing more cognitive ability and then having more tools, and they started killing, and it keeps on any communication added on to it. So it was a kind of evolution crunch, evolution pressure on us that we have to sacrifice some of the memory in order to have higher cognition so that we human as a species could survive. So that guy was saying that in between, monkey has eaten mushroom because mushroom has this psychedelic power. So it was so funny. That guy was saying like he was showing monkey eating mushroom and they became like, he was showing like one monkey ate some mushroom, psychedelic mushroom, and they became smarter. So this is like a bit on tangent. Let's come back to our like major thing about tsunami. Like in that tsunami, there was a very sheer amount of people who died. Means like that, I believe 2004 tsunami.
I think 200,000 people died.
Yeah, something like more than what happened right now in earthquake. Means like earthquake. It means tsunamis are more dangerous than earthquakes.
Yeah, really, they are very dangerous. And I think what adds to their this danger level is that when tsunami happens, when tsunami occurs, you cannot see tsunami coming from the sea, because when it happens, the waves are not above the surface when it's in the middle of the sea or middle of the ocean.
Because it's much more deep, I believe.
Yes, because it's much more deep. So the waves are traveling like below the surface inside the ocean. But when it comes near to the beach or when it comes near to the shore, there is a phenomena called wave shoaling. So in wave shoaling, when we have shallow waters and when the wave it gets struck with some beach or some shoreline, the height of the wave rises and its speed decreases. It has a very high speed. I think the speed of tsunami 2004 was 500 miles or kilometers per hour. I'm not sure, something like that. It's really very high. And when it's struck with the shoreline, the speed decreases and height increases. So people get to know that tsunami is coming when it comes near to them. So they can instantly, not very instantly, but from a very short distance, they get to know, oh, there's a tsunami because the height is more than 5 meters or something like that.
But I think the 2004 earthquake, the height was 30 meters. It's like a big building, means like it was very devastating to people. See water column rising, the sea, entire sea rising. That happened in Interstellar movie also when they were in that planet. This is a tsunami. They thought it's like something happened. So yeah, means like the technology plays a very important role to avoid such kind of challenges. And the concept is very amazing what you explained, like how in deep water it remains calm. It looks like calm because it's very deep, so more of the energy are like transferred around, like how many 5 kilometers the entire wave, and when it comes in the sea, because there was very thin water and it like jumps and becomes like a cobra.
The height of the wave seriously rises, and you were right, I think it was 30 meters, almost 100 feet. It was disastrous, that height, that speed, and you know that how many people died and what was the damage for that. So
and so tsunami, earthquake, and these things are very, like we were discussing previously, how mass plays a very important role to design our structures to make them much more sustainable and much in a more sustainable way, and in a more making them lightweight. Some people use hollow bricks also. These days you have seen a lot of people having hollow brick to make their homes and all. And recently I saw this huge like how people design the bridges in order to have, like in mountainous region we see a lot of bridges which are like how they design those bridges, because there is a very high seismic zone in the mountain. And recently that Jammu, I think Chenab bridge, something like that, which was constructed, like it's like a highest mountainous bridge ever constructed by human. What's your point of view on that?
So my point of view, what you were saying regarding the hollow bricks, that's true. So I came to know about one bridge. First of all, Chenab bridge is a marvel. We'll come to that for sure. But first, because I want to say something about the hollow bricks. So I got to know one example about the Netherlands. Because Netherlands is sinking, and it was sinking at a fast pace, I think sometime back. So they built a bridge. It's called Afsluitdijk. They built that bridge with I think hollow bricks, and it was kind of a wall to protect their city or their country from the ocean. Now it's on an upgrade. I think they're upgrading it to make it more resilient. So that's something regarding the hollow bricks, and yes, it should be used. And regarding this Chenab bridge, it's the world's tallest bridge. It's 359 meters high, I think, from the top of the river,
it's very high,
river, and it's higher than Eiffel Tower. So it's really very high. And and that zone is, I think, in zone 5. That zone where Chenab bridge has been built, it's in zone 5. It's of high seismicity. So I read that this seismicity has been taken into account, and what they did is that they built massive foundations for that. Massive foundations. So like half the size is like comparable to half of a football field. The foundations of the piers are like massive, and when an earthquake comes, this foundation, it doesn't transfer the load to the superstructure. So when this load is not transferred to the superstructure, or when these vibrations are not transferred to the superstructure remains still. It doesn't get damaged. So it's up to, I think, designed for 8 Richter scale. It has been designed to 8 Richter scale. Yeah.
And even like foundation plays a very important role in civil engineering. First of all, I want to say respect to all civil engineers who are doing this amazing, building that bridge, which is so tall. Then that too in a mountainous region, means like Eiffel Tower is in a flat plain. And even I was reading about Burj Khalifa, the foundation of Burj Khalifa is like 100 times more than the 200 times, means like it's like on the ground one town can be established
True.
in the area it was foundation. So foundation does play a very important role. And let's see,
Yes.
the connectivity is increasing due to Chenab bridge and all, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, foundation definitely plays a very important role
yeah,
because I think that's universal. Foundation plays an important role everywhere in structures,
yeah,
even
yeah,
for us. Like if our
yeah,
foundation is weak, then we go nowhere.
yeah,
Foundation plays a very important role. But apart from foundation, yeah, superstructure also matters because there are many other things like wind speed, and there may be other
yeah,
things like there's always a threat of terrorism in that area, so that also matters. That bridges, I think,
yeah.
it can avoid attacks,
Sustain.
sustain
Yeah.
attacks up to 48,000 kilograms of TNT, something like that, and they have used uh, blast-proof steel in that bridge.
Oh.
So apart from foundations and earthquakes, there are many other factors. That's true. We
Hmm.
have to take care of, and that's
Yeah.
also responsibility of civil engineer. So this
Yeah.
blast-proof steel, which steel has to be used so that it's lighter. It
Yeah.
has to be wind resistant. So,
Hmm.
so there are many factors. That's
Okay. And means like since these things are very related, as you were mentioning about sinking cities,
Mhm.
means like due to climate change and so many factors, some of the bigger cities are sinking. Means
That's
like
true.
it's very means like 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, they won't be existence of some other countries. Means like it's, if you think
That's true.
about it, it looks so peculiar if you are living in a place where it was your homeland for so many years, and now you know like after 100 years it won't be no more. It's like very, fear, I mean a scary situation.
It's a very scary situation to be true because I cannot imagine the home which I'm living in or my parents have built it with so much of
Hmm.
not money doesn't matter much, but your emotions are attached to your home.
Emotion.
It's not house, it's your home.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
living in that home for past 25, 30 years,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're living in that home for 100 years. And
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
have if you know that my home is sinking, it will be gone in 30, 40 years,
Hmm.
that's a disaster.
Yeah.
And coming back to Joshimath, I would say that there was one viable solution to just evacuate people, and that's why government is reluctant to evacuate people because people are related to their homes. You can shift them to
Yeah.
some new places, but
Hmm.
that will make a big difference to their lives. Same
Yeah.
goes for some major cities like Jakarta. Jakarta is
Hmm.
the fastest sinking city in the world. So
And the
yeah,
population is very huge, like some crores population.
yes, I'm not aware of that. I think it's 2 crores
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, something in
I
that
don't know the
number. Yeah.
right figure, but it's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So, and Jakarta is the fastest sinking city in the world. It's sinking like anything, and scientists, I
It's
think,
a
have
capital also.
it's a capital. And
Yeah.
recently Indonesia also it's also trying to shift its capital to some other city. I think it's the third largest.
Nusantara, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure of the name of the
Nusantara,
city.
something like that.
Yeah. So, and it's the third largest island in Indonesia. So they are trying to shift the capital due to this reason, and many other reasons might be there. That because
Hmm.
Jakarta is sinking, and I think up to 2050,
Hmm.
2,000 islands I think are predicted to be vanished underwater. 2050. But there's a very very interesting history behind this. Why Jakarta
Hmm.
is sinking, and
Oh.
all of this relates to like Joshimath is also sinking because of the that aquifer acupuncture which we already discussed and the
Hmm.
overexploitation of the groundwater.
Hmm.
Same goes for Jakarta. Like there's a very
Oh.
interesting history behind that why this city is sinking, and the major problem there also is climate change. That's true, but groundwater exploitation is a big
Oh.
factor which is like contributing to its sinking.
Hmm.
And there are many other
And I think in island like means like location in island like countries, there is no fresh water resource except groundwater. They have very limited fresh water resource, because if you see in India, we have Himalayas, continuous source of water. We have Ganga, Yamuna. We can have like, apart from groundwater, we have multiple sources of. But there, you can't expect a river to be flowing in Jakarta because it's surrounded all by mountains, and so groundwater pumping is the main thing. And I think means like when you pump groundwater, and so it starts sinking more, I think.
Yes, and you are correct. But one thing I want to state here is that there were many
Hmm.
other cities like Bangkok, like Taipei in Taiwan. There
Hmm.
were many other cities, and they were facing the same problem of this groundwater exploitation because there
Hmm.
was no piped water supply in those cities. But these
Hmm.
countries acted very swiftly, and they have prevented the sinking of these cities solely based on the groundwater exploitation. So they are sinking right now
Hmm.
also because of climate change and global
Hmm.
warming and sea level rise, but they prevented their cities from this
Oh.
groundwater exploitation. So,
Hmm.
for this Jakarta city,
Hmm.
what happened, I think, is that when it was when it was a Dutch colony in the past, so
Oh.
the Dutch, what you are saying, they tried to build some canals and they tried to do something for the fresh water. But due to some poor construction, again, I think they didn't follow the code or something. Due to the
Hmm.
poor construction, the sediment started to fill in these canals, and these canals were damaged. And one more thing, I think there was some rising in Indonesia to just get independent in the past. And due to this uprising, what these Dutch people did, they
Hmm.
didn't make the bridges on these canals. So
Oh.
there was a division in the society.
Hmm.
Can you imagine? There are canals everywhere,
Hmm.
and there are some small
Oh.
patches of societies, and they
Hmm.
were not bridges. They could not come from here to there, and only Dutch people could go, something like that. So due
Okay.
to this, diseases spread there. Due to when these canals started damaging, the diseases
Hmm.
spread there, and Dutch people moved to the south of the
Hmm.
Jakarta. They
Hmm.
did the same thing there, and
Hmm.
imagine they started the piped water supply for only Dutch people. Okay, and when they started this piped water supply for only Dutch people, there was a huge population divide in that area because the
Hmm.
indigenous people were not getting this fresh water.
Hmm.
This problem arises now, like at present, in the current scenario also in 1949 when Indonesia got independent. I think the piped water supply was less than 2%. Even now, it's less than 50%. So you were right. This piped water supply is a major problem why people are exploiting the groundwater. And people are not stopping. I was watching some interview of a native of Indonesia. He says
Hmm.
that what should we do? What can
Hmm.
we do? We need water. We have to do this.
Yeah.
So that's something that is very, it should be prevented, but it's very sad and people are just bound to do that. And Jakarta is sinking due to that.
And funny thing is, Netherlands themselves are also Dutch people. Dutch
Yeah.
themselves are also sinking, but they are doing some fast
Yes.
measures, which you are explaining in
So
the beginning. Yeah.
Netherlands is one such country
Hmm.
which is known for its expertise in water engineering. I think it's the
Hmm.
first country in the world
Oh.
for this expertise. And just to add a very interesting fact, that Dr. Henkovink, he
Hmm.
is the first water envoy of the world, and
Oh.
he's from Netherlands. So I recently attended United Nations Water Conference. I met him there, and
Oh.
uh, like these people are really concerned about what should happen, what should we
Hmm.
do regarding water. What I see in Dr. Ovink, he's very
Hmm.
concerned. He was crying there that we should do
Hmm.
something to stop this water exploitation, to stop the sinking of the
Hmm.
cities and something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, these some people are concerned, but again, we cannot break
Hmm.
into the system,
Yeah.
and everything, bureaucracy and
Yeah.
everything, it goes
Yeah.
on like that. So
And what about some Indian islands are also sinking? Which all islands are sinking in India? They are like I was hearing some news also.
yeah, there are many islands in India also. They're sinking.
Hmm.
Lakshadweep. I think
Yeah. Let's do
everyone
this. Yeah.
we have studied Lakshadweep as a union territory since we were children,
Child.
since we
Yeah.
were in our childhood. So
Hmm.
Lakshadweep is sinking, and yeah, there's an island there. It's sinking at a very fast pace.
Fast pace. Yeah.
Fast pace. Nicobar Islands. Nicobar
Hmm.
Islands are sinking. So
Hmm.
90 or 95% of the mangrove cover of Nicobar is lost, and it's famous for its sinking rate. It's
Hmm.
sinking at almost 4 or 5, I think, centimeters per year, and the global average is way less.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, there
Hmm.
are many islands there. There's one island in Assam which I recently visited last year. It's called Mazuli.
Mazuri. Okay.
Mazuli. It's called Mazuli. It's the first island district of India. So it was
Oh.
huge island. It was almost 1256 kilometers square. It was the area of the island was 1256 kilometers square. But now it's only 400.
Hmm.
Can you imagine? It's already sank like more than
One third.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More than half. Yeah.
more than half. So islands are sinking. Locals are very disturbed about this because government is not very proactive. So government is active, but still what they are doing, they're evacuating people, shifting them to some other places, but they're not taking measures to stop this. That's a thing of concern.
Yes. And I think that's what you said, right? Means like a lot of things depends upon policies of the government. Everything revolves around that. You will find scientific community keep on shouting, keep on publishing paper, but nobody cares about that. When that thing happens, then everybody will be active. Like even if you see aircraft industry, there was some Boeing accident happened. That flight got crashed and all. After that, they started changing the rules and regulation. Why not? It was prevalent that there should be an additional measures, but we act when there's a loss of life and there's a loss of businesses, then we act. So we need more memory. In that way, in between, we had a discussion upon how memory and cognition are interlinked to each other. Even we will be having good thinking ability, but we have to have much more ways of sustaining our memories, or maybe artificial intelligence some point of time, things like ChatGPT and all these things could help us in some or other ways.
Definitely, yes, definitely they will help us. That's true.
Yeah. So thank you, Ekansh, for today. There was such amazing learning from you, such amazing talk. So we learned a lot from you and maybe the audience as well.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be in this podcast because I've seen your previous videos and those are amazing.
Thank you.
Many things to learn from you. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you. And say out loud to the audience, like subscribe to my channel.
Definitely subscribe to Mahindra's channel because you will get a lot of knowledge in technical terms, in non-technical terms. I would request all of you to subscribe to his channel.
And also fun conversation which we are having, mushroom and all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would request to
so
subscribe to his channel.
Thank you, Ekansh. Have a great day.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.